Are you a music producer or a musician that loves to make music, but this music theory stuff seems really complicated and boring? Well, just give me a few minutes and I'll teach you everything you really need to know about music theory. First of all, why do we even need music theory? Well, music theory is the language of music. It helps us communicate and understand and create music more fluently. At first, sure, it can seem super boring, but once you internalize it, it's going to become like a superpower to you creating music or playing an instrument. And you might know a lot of these things already, but sometimes it's good to go back to basics. So let's start with notes. In Western music, there's primarily 12 notes. So you start on A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it starts over A. So that's called an octave, when a note repeats. So from A is one octave. And then you have another one. It starts over A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And it goes all the way up the piano, just 12 notes. Now you have sharps and flats. Now you might be wondering what these black keys are. Well, these are sharps and flats. So let's say we have A, 1/2 step up, which basically just means the next note up is going to be A sharp. Now this gets really confusing because let's say we have B and we go down a 1/2 step. Well, that's also called B flat. So this note can be called A sharp or B flat. So a 1/2 step or a semitone is the smallest step you can make. So if I'm an A, the next smallest step I could take is there. Then a whole step is where you skip one. So A to B would be a whole step. Now it also gets confusing here because here you see there's not a black key between B and C. So that's actually a 1/2 step. Now I go super in depth into this in my new course, Piano Mastery. We get to know the keyboard, we get to know scales, advanced chords, learning popular music, exercises, basically everything you need to know. And I've been taking piano lessons for 20 years. In college, I was having to practice piano 4 hours every single day. But I want you guys to save some time and either get the Piano Mastery course or watch my videos and learn faster than I did. 20 years is a big time commitment, but you don't need 20 years. So what is a key? The simplest way to put a key is notes that sound always good together. So you have C major, which is the key of C major, starts on always C. So if I say C major, we're going to start on C. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes. And then you land back on the next octave. So C major. Then every single time you start on a note, that also has a key. So if I say we're in D, that means we have D major. So what makes a major scale? Well, a major scale, if you like formulas, this might be for you. If you don't, there's plenty of other ways, but formula is whole. So you have, start on C, you have a whole step, a whole step, a 1/2 step, a whole step, whole step, whole step, 1/2 step. And it's going to be like that every single major key. So we can go up to G, whole step, 1/2 step, whole step, whole step, whole step, 1/2 step. D, whole step, 1/2 step, whole step, whole step, whole step, 1/2 step. Now numbering the scale helps you understand the structure more. So if I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, now you can think of each of these as numbers. And that's going to be really helpful when we get into chords. Real quick, if you like these kind of videos, make sure you subscribe and like. It really helps out when I'm brainstorming ideas for what you guys want to see and what's going to bring value to you. So now you might have heard of this magical thing called the circle of fifths. So what is this sorcery? Well, basically, I'll make it super simple for you. If you notice, C is all white keys. You don't have any black keys at all. And when I say black keys, now I'm going to refer to them as sharps and flats. So in C, that's the first part of the circle of fifths. Now, the next part of the circle of fifths, let's go up 5 steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're on G. So that means G is the next scale in the circle of fifths. So why does this even matter? How does this help me learn scales? Well, if you noticed, that one had 1 sharp. So 0 sharps, 1 sharp. Now you can probably guess if we go up another 5 steps. D. Guess how many sharps this is going to have? It's going to have 2. Now guess what happens if I go up another 5 steps? Now I'm on A. 3. And it just continues. So, basically what you could take from this, instead of thinking of some kind of magical formula, I know that can be super boring, just think of these and memorize each sharp in order. So basically, it's not random. If you notice, G had F sharp, and then basically each time you go up, you're only adding one sharp. So C, none, G, F sharp, now we go to D, now we're going to have C sharp. But keeping that F sharp, just add C sharp. Now we go up to A, now keep that F sharp and C sharp, add a G sharp. Now we go up to E, now we're just adding that D sharp, because that's a half step, right? Now we go up to B. So now I'm going to show you something. Watch what happens if I don't think of it this way. Notice how that sounded kind of weird? Well, if we go back to our formula, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And you can usually hear, even if you fully don't understand music theory yet, you can hear when it kind of sounds weird. If I did this, you might be like, something was wrong there, right? So, again, you can either think of it as a formula, or you can use a circle of fifths and just memorize the order of the sharps. So order the sharps: F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, then A sharp. If that was too complex, another way to think about it is just think of the sharps. So if the first one is F sharp, let's go up 5, again, circle of fifths. So first scale is going to have F sharp, second scale is going to have C sharp, third scale is going to add G sharp, and so on and so on. So that scales. Sounds super easy, right? Well, the best way to practice this, just practice it. So what are chords? Chords are multiple notes played together. So this is called a triad, which means 3 notes. So if you look at a scale, now we're going to start assigning numbers, right? So all we're going to do is take the root note, which is 1. We're going to take the third, and we're going to take the fifth. That's going to be our triad in every major scale. So if we're in G, we're going to take the first, third, fifth. D, first. Remember this has F sharp. So that's going to be the triad for D. Now what happens with all these complex chords, you might have seen like D major 7, D diminished, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's all just based off of that major scale. So if I say C major 7, all I say is we got a triad and I just want to add the 7. C major 7. Now, what are these other kinds of chords? This minor, diminished, augmented, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're probably never going to use too many diminished or augmented chords, but minor is the main one. So all you have to do is lower that third. It's E, right? So just lower that third by a half step. Then also, in the C natural minor scale, we're going to lower the 6th and 7th. So if I say C minor 7, well, we know we have that triad, C minor 7, so, but we're in minor, so we have that B flat. So when we write chord progressions, basically if you listen to any song, it's built off of a chord progression, and a lot of them are actually very similar. So, and that's because in a chord progression we use Roman numerals to represent them. So let's say we have 1, I'm going to call that the 1 chord. Then I want to say, let's have a 2-5-1 chord progression. So I'm going to say we have a minor 2, a 5, and a 1 in a 2-5-1 chord progression. So what does that mean if we're in C major? Well, I want to take the minor 2, so D. D major is, D minor is going to be, now I want to go to the major 5, and the major 1. And guess what? Once you know music theory, it's super easy to improv. Because if someone says 2-5-1, you might be locked into that. But then if you know the scale, you can just improv. You feel me? What about inversions? Do we really always have to start on that root note? Like if I tell you C major, do I really have to just do that? Well, obviously it's just 3 notes, so no. So let's say we don't want to start on that root note. We call those inversions. You notice it's still a C chord, You have C, G, but you have E on the bottom. So that's first inversion. You can do that again, second inversion, and then back to normal. Now, the easiest way to read super complex chords is just look at it for what it is. So if I say C major 2, the second note of the scale, add that. C major 7, seventh note of the scale, add that. C major 9, ninth note of the scale, same as the second, but usually when I say 2, we're just adding the 2. If I say 9, we're going to add the 7th usually. And it's also going to be an octave higher. So this, even without the 7th, sounds a little different. So sometimes people say, most of the time, people will say C major 9. So what is diminished? So diminished is the minor chord with the 5th lowered. So G is the 5th, we're going to lower that a half step. So this is regular minor, this is diminished. So augmented is when you take the major chord and you raise the 5th. So what is melody? Well, melody usually stays within the scale and it just sounds good. Tension and resolution. That sounds kind of not perfect, right? It sounds like something should happen here. Well, you use that to build anticipation and then resolve it. So what creates that nice feeling of resolution? Well, the C. The D is fully in the chord, but the C isn't. It's still in the scale, but we can still resolve it to a more peaceful tone. Now, rhythm and timing. This is super important. I played drums for a while, and all we deal with is rhythm. So rhythm is where we really get into the math of things, and it really isn't that complicated. All you're basically going to have, usually, the most common time signature, which basically just means how many beats are in a measure, is 4. So if you count along with me, it's pretty simple. It's just, you have 4 beats, which is whole, half of that, half, which is 2, half of that, 1 per beat, half of that, 8 notes, half of that, 16 notes. Of course, you have 32nd notes once you divide that. So understanding even basic theory is really going to help you in all your music creation and all your performance. Again, I go super in-depth into this in my piano mastery course, and we also learn production in the entire modern music creator course. But now you can get everything separately. So if you just want to learn piano, go ahead and get that piano mastery. And if you want to learn production as well as music entrepreneurship, everything you need to know, go ahead and get the Modern Music Creator Academy. That'll be it for today. Make sure you go over on Patreon where you get early videos and tons of other benefits. We've also got merch. We've got other courses. We've got plenty to offer. Whatever you guys find valuable, just go check it out. Now, this was basic music theory, but you'll need to watch this video next, so I'll see you there.